this is not the redefining horror film everyone is trying to convince you that it is. How's it going, creeps? Welcome back to Cinema Creep. Cinema Creep is a place where we discuss, dissect, and review all things vile, disgusting, and downright terrifying in the world of horror cinema. And tonight is no exception because we are going to be talking all about the film In a Violent Nature from 2024, written and directed by Chris Nash. So I'm going to just come out and say it. This movie let me down harder than my father could have ever dreamed of doing, so take note, Pop. The hype surrounding this film was out of control as people were anticipating a film that was going to breathe a breath of fresh air into the slasher genre. The movie was promising an original take on slashers by being shot from the killer's perspective as he hunts unsuspecting victims and walks around a lot under the guise of being called ambient horror. So basically the movie follows a rotting corpse named Johnny who is resurrected after a locket given to him by his mother is removed from a decaying fire tower in the woods, sending the corpse on a killing spree. Now, I was really stoked on this film if you remember the trailer trash review for it, and the synopsis sounds really gnarly, but it's not original and the execution of the story is on par with student films I've seen. From the opening scenes of the film, I already knew I was going to be disappointed because all of the blatant copying Nash did from Friday the 13th films were thrown directly in your face. From the way that the killer Johnny walks to the way that Johnny is dressed, paying homage to creative work and downright copying are two completely different things. This was Nash proudly waving the flag saying, "I have no original ideas." This movie truly feels to me that ChatGPT wrote the bulk of the idea and Nash filled in the blanks, you know, like what were those things, Mad Libs? Is the movie bad? Well, it's not good. The acting is pretty shitty for a movie that has a theatrical release as well. I've seen better acting in straight-to-Tubi films. Hell, I've seen better acting in YouTube films. The movie, it's not bad, it's not good, it's just middle of the run and it's not rewatchable. I couldn't stop sighing and looking on like a disappointed parent when the story veered in the direction of young adults telling a campfire tale of a person with mental disabilities who died unjustly and then comes back from the grave for revenge. You can't tell me that wasn't at least halfway written by AI. It's a story we have seen 1,000 times and told 1,000 times better. Time and time again. So is the ambience of the film cool? I mean, yeah, I guess so. The movie is told in a third-person POV where the camera follows the killer around, which honestly is not even that cool of an angle. It ends up feeling like a walking simulator horror game and less like a horror movie. I mean, you get pretty tired of seeing it rather quickly. You know, this movie has a hatchet, check. Bear traps, check. Gas can, check. Give me a fucking break. It is just basically like a horror game. I'm surprised we don't see the victims escaping on a boat. Where's the spark plug? Where's the gas can? Put it in the boat and let's escape on the lake. I personally think that if you're really trying to push the boundaries with a film like this, tell the entire movie from the killer's POV in first-person perspective. You know, like the beginning of Halloween 1978, or better yet, like the beginning of the Maniac remake from 2012 with Elijah Wood. That whole 15-minute section that opens that film is gnarly. If you want to say that you're going to tell from the killer's perspective, it has to be first-person view. Overall, the story is old and borrowed, and I guarantee that if you're a fan of horror, you've seen the same story a dozen times or so. Like I said, the acting isn't great and the victims seem to just let Johnny kill them without much of a fight or a struggle. I mean, Yoga Girl runs straight to the edge of the cliff before getting her shit turned inside out. The first victim, the old man bear hunter guy, runs into the woods instead of back into his house, which was a lot closer and would have probably helped him get away from Johnny. And this fucking guy right here, he just stands behind Johnny and yells, which is supposed to be a distraction, but What the hell did he think was going to happen when he was literally standing 2 inches behind the killer? And of course, we can argue that all horror movie victims are dumb and die in dumb ways, but at least in most films, they don't act like NPCs like they did in this film. Are some of the kills cool? Yeah, they are, but they aren't as gross and as nasty and vomit-inducing as people lied about. They're typical for a slasher horror film, especially one, in a Friday the 13th series or Hatchet or something like that. It's nothing that is too crazy or over the top that if you're an avid horror movie watcher, you haven't seen before. The movie feels too long at 1.5 hours, and the story could have easily been told in a 45-minute short film that was uploaded to YouTube, and then I would probably have truly been impressed with it. You could also leave the film 15 minutes sooner because the last 20 minutes of the movie is a nonsensical conversation that has really honestly no relevance or bearing to the story, and you're not missing any of the climax if you leave the movie 15 to 20 minutes early. This is not the redefining horror film everyone is trying to convince you that it is. Nash had a few cool looking shots in the movie, and the film did look good, but it's hard to get a bad shot when you're shooting during golden hour in the forest and you have your camera on a gimbal or a Steadicam. I do it all the time. Take your phone to the mountains and walk around at golden hour. It's easy to get those type of looking shots. And it's not that Chris Nash is a bad filmmaker by any means or a bad director. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say this is not the redefining horror that everybody's making it out to be. There is nothing in this film that is new, inventive, or a breath of fresh air. There were some cool shots in here, like the overhead shot when Johnny smashes the victim's head with a rock. But I mean, most of this is just standard coverage. And then it is just, following shots with a gimbal or a Steadicam. So there's just not a whole lot here that is, innovative or even new or even original. It's just very, very standard. People on X are real mad over this one, and it's not even the people that didn't like the movie, it's the people that are defending it and swearing that it's good. So I'm going to rate this movie 2 out of 5 creeps, and I honestly hate that because I was really, really excited for it, but it just didn't do it for me. So don't forget to let me know how many creeps you would rate In a Violent Nature down in the comments below, and let me know what your favorite Friday the 13th ripoff film is down in the comments as well, or your favorite slasher film. Also, don't forget to check the description for cool ways to help support the Cinema Creep channel. And last but not least, don't be a chud and like the video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more killer content. And that's it. Stay creepy, and I'll see you on the next one.